Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. It is the end of a very consequential week, and one that when it comes to new launches and new products has been a little bit quiet in the world of AI. You got to think that people didn't want to compete with the US election show when it came to announcing anything of significance. And yet there were some really interesting stories this week, notably that an AI artwork has sold for $1 million. The artwork was called AI God and was by AI DeRobot, who Sotheby said was the first humanoid robot artist to have an artwork sold at auction. Sotheby's had anticipated that the painting would sell for between $120,000 and $180,000, so this massively outperformed. Sotheby's ultimately said that there were 27 bids for the art, and that the sale, quote, launches a new frontier in the global art market, establishing the auction benchmark for an artwork by a humanoid robot. The artist, AI DeRobot, said, quote, "The key value of my work is its capacity to serve as catalyst for dialogue about emerging technologies. The work invites viewers to reflect on the godlike nature of AI and computing while considering the ethical and societal implications of these advancements." Notably, the subject was Alan Turing, who was a codebreaker during World War II and an early computer pioneer. Really interesting stuff, and of course the question will be, is this a one-time novelty, or will we start to see this type of art show up at auction again? Next up, we move over into the legal realm. OpenAI has scored a small victory. One of the copyright lawsuits against OpenAI has been dismissed based on a lack of damages. The federal court has dismissed the case brought by Raw Story Media and Alternate Media against OpenAI. The plaintiffs had claimed that OpenAI used their articles and training data without proper attribution. In making her ruling, Judge Colleen McMahon said that the publisher could not show enough harm to ground their claims. She allowed them to file a new complaint, but said she was, quote, skeptical that they could allege a cognizable injury. Notably, the case was a little bit different to the New York Times lawsuit. These plaintiffs were not alleging copyright infringement, but simply reproduction of the articles without copyright management information, or CMI. The judge said, "Let us be clear about what's really at stake here. The alleged injury for which the plaintiffs truly seek redress is not the exclusion of CMI, but the use of plaintiffs' articles to develop ChatGPT without compensation." Essentially, the judge said that this harm is not sufficient enough to justify the lawsuit. Still, the plaintiffs said they were confident they could address the concerns in court through an amended complaint. OpenAI competitor Mistol has launched a new API, meanwhile, for content moderation. Powered by a fine-tuned version of their Mistral 8B model, the feature can be tailored to specific applications and safety standards. The model is trained to classify text in 11 languages, including French, German, Arabic, Japanese, and Korean. It can identify harmful content across 9 categories, including sexual, hate and discrimination, violence and threats, and more. In a blog post, Mistral wrote, "Over the past few months, we've seen growing enthusiasm across the industry and research community for new AI-based moderation systems, which can help make moderation more scalable and robust across applications." Following up on a previous story, filmmakers at Lionsgate are already using AI and are pleased with the results. You might remember that back in September, Lionsgate signed a deal with Runway to provide access to their generative video tools. The deal was the first with a major studio and reignited concerns about AI displacing film crew and talent. During this week's earnings call, motion picture chair Adam Fogelson said, "There were some questions when it was reported. Once we clarified for our filmmaking partners, for our talent partners, exactly what this was, how it would be used, what it is, what it isn't, we've had great support and our filmmakers are using it already." CEO John Feldheimer added, "We believe that AI harnessed within the appropriate guardrails can be a valuable tool to serve our talent, and we believe that over the long term, it will have a positive transformational impact on our business." Lastly today, in a world first, Google has used AI to find a zero-day exploit in widely used software. Google claimed to have found the vulnerability in the SQLite open-source database engine with the help of a code auditing agent, Big Sleep. In a blog post they wrote, "We believe this is the first example of an AI agent finding a previously unknown exploitable memory safety issue in widely used real-world software. Big Sleep is a specifically trained LLM developed by Google's DeepMind and Project Zero divisions." The blog continued, "We think that this work has tremendous defensive potential. Finding vulnerabilities in software before it's even released means that there's no scope for attackers to compete. The vulnerabilities are fixed before attackers even have a chance to use them." Overall, lots of interesting stuff going on, but that is going to do it for the headlines. Next up, the main episode.